Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. As far as I'm aware, what I'm about to relate to you is a story that is, I think, unique. I don't think this has ever happened before, certainly not in British politics. It is a complete comedy of errors. It's the sort of thing that would come up if you were writing an episode of Yes Minister. It's utterly weird, it's utterly bonkers, and it shows, on one hand, a lack of morals from one candidate in an election, and it shows the utter ludicrous rules that are in place, that someone who can win an election doesn't get the seat because of a mistake by the returning officer. It's just weird. Yeah, absolutely weird. Now, we'll take a look at this. And honestly, as far as I'm concerned, I think it is unique. I don't think I've ever heard of this before. So we'll take a look at it. But, wow. Anyway, here goes. So, Tories' legal fight after Labour is declared the winner in a local election results gaffe. And the accidental victor is refusing to step down for the real Conservative champion. Julie Green, Conservative councillor for Nelson, was robbed of her win. Patricia Hannah-Wood, Labour, was mistakenly read out and won't step down. He will not step down because he has no decency. A local election result is set to be decided in court after officials accidentally announced a victory for the Labour candidate, who now refuses to step down for the real Tory winner. And this is kind of going to the heart of politics. We know there's very little decency in politics, but surely in something like this, you know, your inner voice would tell you that it is unethical and immoral to retain that seat when you are fully aware that you did not win it through any kind of democratic means, but simply a slip of the tongue by an official. It's immoral, it's wrong, and he should resign his seat and let this lady take over. It's just not on, really, is it? Julie Green, a Conservative councillor for the Lancashire town of Nelson, was robbed of her electoral win 8 days ago after the name of her Labour rival, Patricia Hannah-Wood, was mistakenly read out. Officials quickly realised their error and apologised. However, a legal quirk meant that the declaration could not be changed, and instead of acknowledging the mistake and standing down, Mr Hannah-Wood celebrated his fake victory. Now, only a legal challenge can reverse the result, which the Tories say will take up to 6 months and cost local taxpayers more than £100,000. Sorry, £10,000. It's still £10,000 and 6 months. In which case you have an interloper taking somebody's democratically elected seat through an error. It is wrong. It goes to show the lack of ethics. If Keir Starmer wants to convince people that his party is fair, equitable and can be trusted, he should be on the phone to this local association and telling them to get that man out of that chair and let the Conservative woman take the seat that she won democratically in an election. To do otherwise smacks of third world dictatorship. It smacks of corruption. And is that what the Labour Party wants to taint itself with? I suspect not. It all depends on whether Starmer has balls. I suspect not. Anyway, she said, "You can't make these things up. I am flabbergasted," said Mrs Green. "It's not democracy when somebody steals your seat. I can't understand why somebody would behave so immorally. If you know you've lost, you have to accept it. But this man will not accept it. He is insisting that he's won and he's taking the seat just because of that little quirk in law. But it just goes to show the immorality of the Labour Party." Tory councillor Kieran McGladdery, who witnessed the bungled announcement, said it was an extremely unfortunate mistake caused by fatigue and tiredness. "We could see the piles of paperwork as they were counting the votes, and the blue pile was visibly much larger than the red pile." And that's what's happened. And of course, it's obvious that the Tory had won this seat. He told the Mail on Sunday that when officials declared a Labour victory, somebody ran to the front and said the announcement was wrong. The incorrect results were written on the slip of paper. Rose Rouse, Pendle Borough Council's chief executive, who needs to lose her job now, who announced the result as the returning officer, rushed off to get legal advice. And she came back and said the declaration was a legal statement and it was too late to reverse it. Mr McGladdery said. Labour has the majority on Nelson Town Council, and this ward, Marsden West, would not have changed that. But the Conservatives were still furious at Labour, and you can understand why. They've had a victory snatched from them by the inefficiency and ineptitude of a woman who is obviously over-promoted into her job and can't read or understand what the words coming out of our mouth mean. They didn't give a monkeys. They were whooping and hollering, celebrating wildly as if they'd actually won, McGladdery said. Pat was there with other Labour members. They said, we're keeping the result, it's your problem. But you're not keeping it, it will go to court, you will lose it, and you will have to pay £10,000 of public money because you lack the decency to admit defeat. Fury mounted last week when Mr Hannah Wood attended a town council meeting and put himself forward for the 3 committee roles. On social media, locals labelled the power grab as Machiavellian. The Mail on Sunday tried to reach Mr Hannah Wood, but he was unavailable for comment. However, another Labour councillor, Yvonne Tennant, said, all I know is that the returning officer made the announcement and apparently that is legally standing. As far as I know, nobody's approached Pat. Mr Hannah Wood, who is transgender, hit the headlines 2 years ago when he told the Labour Party conference about being targeted with transphobic abuse in the women's toilets while attending the event in Brighton. Well, as a man, you shouldn't have been in the women's toilets. Pendle Council admitting the mix-up was a simple human error and apologised, but confirmed the result can now only be challenged with a court hearing. Electoral law says declarations are final and cannot be amended, but returning officers can correct any error in their announcement, provided it is done immediately. Electoral Commission spokesman Orla Hennessy said the council would need to confirm why it wasn't immediately corrected. I suspect because they knew if they delayed it would stand and that they wanted it to stand. So presumably the biased nature of that returning officer should preclude that woman from ever having that role again, and she should lose her job as the chief executive. That is appalling. Anyway, we'll go to court. The Tories will win it. She will get her seat, and all the damage done by that man will be reversed, hopefully. But that's Labour for you. You know, don't let democracy get in the way of winning. I shall round off and come up. It doesn't matter who won the seat. It doesn't matter which party was first, second, or whatever. The principle must stand that democracy is more important than any pettifogging little rule that says somebody can make a mistake and it stands. Obviously that's not the case, and indeed there is, as explained there, the provision that the returning officer can make a mistake and immediately say, oh, I apologise, the name was wrong, this is the winner. And that would be the sensible thing for her to do. So why didn't she? Why didn't she immediately say, I'm sorry, there was a mistake made, I was handed the wrong name, I've read it out incorrectly, the correct winner is this, I am making this the legal declaration now, and change it? Well, we have to presume, therefore, that that returning officer is a Labour supporter. Otherwise, you know, she would have done that. Or she was ignorant to the rules. So either she's biased, in which case she shouldn't have had the role, or she's stupid, in which case she shouldn't have had the role. We'll let her decide which one it is. Is she a moron, or is she just biased? But either way. But had it been any party coming first and second and the wrong name coming out, I would have said, if it had been the Tory, for example, that had claimed the victory because of a misreading and it should have been a Labour seat. Quite right, the Tory should give up the seat to the Labour person who won it. But in this case, it's the other way round. And even so, the Labour candidate needs to give up that seat. He needs to step down, and he must not be allowed to make any decisions or draw a salary until such time as this has gone to the courts, because otherwise you'll pay him, he'll win, he'll have to repay that money, and then he'll probably refuse to do that. So yes, it's definitely one for the courts. It's one I'd like to follow, and I think undoubtedly that the correct democratic decision will be arrived at via the courts. But it just stinks, and it just shows the Labour Party in a very bad light. The very fact that this has gone on so long and that nobody has forced them to say, look, resign or you're out, we'll take the whip away and things like that, which is entirely within the power of the party. Is it really how the Labour Party want to be seen? Not with an election coming up, surely. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, make sure you vote, and make sure your vote counts. And goodbye.